Hello Supercoaches, welcome to our preview podcast for round 19. We've got all the Origin wash-up who will and won't back up. Rob Sutherland, you watched the game very closely last night. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are you're an idiot, Tom, because you know I didn't watch the game. I told you that. You just wanted to shame me. You know I don't watch games that are going to be too emotional for me.
And what did you do instead?
I'm reading a very interesting book on the history of Vienna and its contribution to Western philosophical thought, and I had a whiskey.
Just one?
Yes, but it was a large one.
Yeah, fair enough. And we've got Jett Hatton here.
Just come from a job interview, I believe.
From a job interview
Did you get the gig?
Yeah, got it, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Apparently because I'm pretty good at SuperCoach, so yeah. No,
potentially straight out of Anchorman as well.
Yeah, it looks like it. Got the, I think this tie might be about 70 years old, so yeah, you had to get the headshots updated, so I wore an old school racing tie, so...
Looking good, and you're at the game.
Yeah, a bit tired
well?
this morning. I got home pretty late just because of the trains and that, but
yeah,
a bit disappointing. Didn't get much action down my end at all. I was on the other end of the Blatchies Blues, so they didn't score at all in the first half, and they didn't do much of it in the second half either. So, a bit disappointing.
I was in the great spot right behind the posts where all the tries were scored. There was literally one didn't try at the other end, at your end, and I got to see them all. Unfortunately, they were all Queensland tries, of course.
Yep.
Onto, we've got a guessing competition, which I know Rob is really, really fired up about. I want you to ask you, of the starting 13 from Queensland, who got the lowest Supercoach score last night?
Josh Papali.
Well, Papali played limited minutes, but it's not him.
Oh, that's a good...
You have to guess verbally.
Robert
Toya, not him.
My turn? Oh, this is a good game. This could go for a while. How many more
I'll
are
let
there?
you know. There's no way you're going to get it because Cameron Munster.
That was my next guess.
Only 30. That wasn't.
Was too.
Only 31 points. So I thought he had.
Papali outscored him.
Yeah. Even in 25, 30 minutes. I guess I was watching that game live. I thought Munster was sensational. Only 31 points for Supercoach. So I guess that's just the vagaries of the Supercoach scoring system.
Yeah, he kicked it a lot, so maybe just taking the ball out of his hand.
Harry Grant cracked a ton. Any love for Harry Grant after his Origin performance? And do you think he backs up as well?
I think he likely backs up. I'm looking for a hooker. Tossing up between Connor Watson and Harry Grant. I've gone with Connor Watson because I prefer his draw. And the dual position might come in handy with trades, because trades are running low, especially for me, and so to be able to move him around if I have to.
Also, Tommy Dearden, 92 Supercoach points last night. The Wally Lewis medal winner. Nathan Cleary. So you got Cameron Munster, who I thought was pretty good, gets 31. Nathan Cleary, who I thought was horrible, gets 58. Which just goes to show how good he is at Supercoach, I guess. Even in a bad game, he gets 58 and when not kicking goals.
Yeah, the one thing I have about him is watching him live last night, he didn't look like he could really lengthen out properly.
No. Just
didn't look good at all, so I don't think that looks good for his prospects of playing on Sunday. But he broke a few tackles. He broke one on Tino. He got a few sort of stats like that. So, yeah, a bit worrying for Sunday.
In terms of late mail, so Liam Martin had his hand strapped at one stage. We're chasing that. Not a huge one for Supercoach, obviously. Brian To'o, I don't know, I was watching him pretty closely in back play, struggling all night. And when he got in the clear, you could tell that he couldn't stretch out, a bit like Cleary. Carried a knee injury into the game, so plus he's carrying that hamstring injury, which he's had since pre-season. So with no mail whatsoever, I'd say that he's probably unlikely to back up this week.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think he would lengthen out that much either last night. So yeah, they don't really need him on Sunday against the Eels. You'd think they'd win that game. So
on to Cameron Munster. Hopefully he backs up. You've been looking into the turnarounds and the travels, etc. Do we think he does back up?
No, I have not, and no, I don't think he does. Yeah, I would assume he cut short the grieving process to go and play this game. I'm sure the Storm will give him this week off, especially against the Knights.
You'd have to think so. On to Payne Haas, who carried a back injury into that game but looked pretty damn good. And we know that Payne Haas is not actually a human being, and he also has the longest backup possible. They played the last game of the round. So, look, I will have Payne Haas as a reserve in my team, and then I can switch into someone else in that game.
In that game?
In that game, go to Tino, probably.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was going to say, from that game, there's Karapani, who I think is actually a play.
Yeah, well, I've got him in my 17 already because I think
yeah.
he'll score tries against Titans.
Haas, I'm not putting a reserve on. I'm going to sit him out this week.
You'll like something I'm thinking of Karapani later, but we'll get to that.
Excellent.
Connor Watson, we think, will back up. Fletcher Sharp confirmed out for the season with that ruptured spleen, lacerated kidney, etc. What are we thinking for trades this week?
It's hard for me. I was going to bring in Cleary all week because I've got Daly Cherry Evans in there he's on the bye this week, and then he's got a pretty tough draw upcoming. So even if Cleary didn't play, I was sort of just tossing that up. But the one trade I am going to lock in is Hugo Savala. Trading him out, he's done a good job for me, made a couple $100K, and going to bring in another Rooster. Going to bring in Angus Crichton. So that's probably just the one trade for me this week.
Yeah, Crichton, I know you didn't watch the game, Rob, but so close to what could have been a bit of a match-turning try. We got ankle tapped by his own Roosters teammate in Robert Toya. I think he's a good purchase going forward. I'm not going to go this week, but he's on my radar for next.
Crichton scored one try this year. I think Sam Walker's return is going to change that. I think he's going to score a few at the back end of the year. Under 600K, I think he's a bargain. I'm getting rid of Sandon Smith and Jermaine Asako. I'm bringing in Connor Watson and Angus Crichton.
Yeah. The
trade I want to make is Pappenhausen for Cleary, but I probably won't this week.
Yeah, we're also chasing whether Pappenhausen will play, obviously in a little bit of doubt with that calf injury that kept him out last week, and also whether he'll kick goals, which is not just crucial for him, but it's crucial for Nick Meaney as well, who's a really popular purchase this week. My trades, I've got Kyle McCarthy not playing, so he's out for Kalani going, who is a nuff, and we'll get to some nuffs later on. But he works perfectly with Connor Watson, his dual position. And then I need a hooker. So Starling goes at this stage to Connor Watson, but I am also tempted by Harry Grant.
Yeah, I think I said on Tuesday I like both as round 20 buys, just because of you wouldn't think Harry plays 80 minutes with Bronson Garlick playing pretty well when he deputises for him. Connor Watson's probably the better buy now, but long term I like the Harry Grant fit.
I think Garlick may be lucky to be alive. Did you see the game where he turned his back on the play and the ball was like, there was an offload and it just hits his arm and is a knock on, and Bellamy almost went through the box. Like, he was so angry, and Garlick was gone from the field. It wasn't like he was hooked, he just disappeared. It was like he vaporised him. It was very impressive.
On to the no-go zone this week. What are you thinking?
Talon De Silva for me. It's too late in the season to be picking up a hooker that's on a timeshare situation. Hookers in timeshare aren't great anyway. This far into the season, I just can't see it.
Plus, you've got Riley Smith to come back into that team potentially as well. So, I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I'd Talon De Silva as well. Just a waste of a trade when people get in single-digit trades. Also think I don't really like the Nick Meaney purchase, just because he'll go back to centre, where he's been pretty average all year. He probably will still kick goals on the weekend, but I just think it's chasing last week's points.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, I had Nick Meaney too. The BE is minus 42, so it's good, but he'll make sort of 90-odd K, and then you'll have to upgrade him. It's not a long-term play. I'd be going for just go for enough and a genuine keeper instead.
Yep, just two trades that you're going to have to waste.
Guilty pleasures, Rob?
Well, it's perhaps to Cleary. If Cleary's named, I'm going to make that trade. The Panthers are playing the bottom 5 in their next 5 games. And, everyone's writing Cleary off. Some bloke walked into work today, I won't name who it is, and says he can never make it on the big stage. He can't handle the big stage. I'm like, did you forget every grand final where he just towed Penrith over? It's the worst takes going around, and that would... I would imagine Cleary's pretty good at not reading the press, but some of that would get to him, and surely that's going to get him going.
Yeah, I think that'll fire up the Panthers for the run home for sure. Your guilty pleasure?
I don't really have any guilty pleasures this week, just because I'm not really bringing any pod players like I normally do, but I am going for a pod captain, so going well against the ruck, I think, this week with my pod captain, especially if Pappenhausen doesn't play. I think I'm going to lock this one in Sunday afternoon. So.
Nice tease.
Oh, yeah, great tease. You'll have to watch for the next 10 minutes to get that pick there.
Or just fast forward, guys. It's easy. Just drag it along the bar.
Listen to double speed. Yeah. That's an option too. Welcome to this week's Best Bets, powered by Betr. Rob, what are you thinking?
I've got 2 anytime try scorers. I've got Dom Young against the Storm. As good a defensive team as the Storm are, their wings are looking pretty flaky, and I think Dom Young can score against them. And Karapani against the Titans. The Titans are the definition of flaky, and I think Karapani's a play over a lot more of the popular centre wings.
I've got Karapani in my bet as well. I've got him to score a try, which I think is almost a given up against the Titans, who are really struggling. And Adam Reynolds to score 10 plus points. You can get $3 for that, which I think is pretty good. I reckon the Broncos are just going to dominate this one. There's going to be lots of points.
Yep, well, I agree. Well, Karapani won't score because I've got him in there as well. So,
so we're all going Karapani to score.
Poor kid.
I've got Karapani to score, and then Brisbane first team to get 31 points. I think there'll be a lot of points in that as well. So that's about $3.
Well, there you go. I hate it when we all target the same game. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Questions. So we've actually, this first question we've spoken about a lot, but is Karapani a hold, or do you upgrade to Lomax or Holmes? So first of all, we think he's a hold this week because he's a play. Second of all, what are your plans with Karapani going forward?
I'm going to hold him. I think he looks like a gun. Especially with Reece Walsh in the side, he's just going to get so much. Like, he scraped over with about 50 or something on the weekend with Cobbo at fullback, but Reece Walsh probably has the best cutout ball in the game. So I'm going to hold him for the run home. I don't see the point of moving him on.
Sorry, Cody Walker just texted and said, "What are you talking about? Best cutout in the game." But no, that's fine.
You got to play games to be able to throw cutout passes, you know.
Savage. Look, where were we? Karapani. I was thinking I'd hold him for this week and then assess. I've got, like everyone, I've got a lot of 5 or 6 good centre wings, and he's the last one for me. I'll see if I need the money. But
yeah, it's a decision to make later on, that's for sure, for me. Surely we wait a week for Cleary? That's a question from JT. Thoughts on that? There is the issue with the groin. He probably doesn't kick goals, but I feel like he will want to back up after that, what we could probably call a poor Origin performance. Do you move this week, or do you just wait?
It really depends how your team's positioned, to be honest. Everyone's going to have different sort of plans and that, but if you don't have to get him this week, I wouldn't get him. I'd look and wait and see how he goes, because, as I said, it didn't look like he could sprint properly last night. So, if you don't have to get him, I wouldn't, but if you're struggling for those sort of big players, I'd get him in.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the definition of a luxury trade, right? So I could hold Pappenhausen. I don't even need to play him. I'm not playing Nicker. I'm not playing Haas this week. Like a lot of us, our teams are starting to get strong, so you don't have to make those moves. But I want to make that move because he's a champion. His pride's been pricked. I just can't help but feel that 150 points is coming.
On to pod of the week. What are you thinking, Rob?
Kurt Donohoe. For me,
I own him in draft and I love him.
Yeah, I mean, the move to lock has been great for him. The Dolphins are pretty thin in the forwards, to be fair. He's averaging 73.7 from 3 games there. There have been 2 tries, but he's got a base of 45.50. He's a good price. He's second row forward and hooker dual. I prefer Connor Watson, but Donohoe's a pod.
Yep. Yeah, I had him in there too. I got 3 written down. I had Kurt Donohue, I had Grant Anderson, who, I think he's locked his spot on that Melbourne side now, and they've got a pretty soft draw upcoming. But a lot of guys are bringing in Tanner Boyd as a downgrade option this week. I really liked Sean O'Sullivan at 255k. Yeah. He's locked into that 5'8" there with Cody Nikorima out and just playing out the back of Izzy Katoa. There's just so much points off the back of it, and he's had solid stats when starting in the past, but it's all been from that first receiver role. He'll be that second receiver playing out the back, and the Dolphins have a lot of points in him, and I think Sean O'Sullivan, although I'm not bringing him in, he's a solid downgrade option because he'll make a few 100k. Yep,
both good calls there, I reckon. I'm going, he's obviously not a massive pod, but I think Harry Grant at only 12% is really good value for him. Only 15% of the top 10% own him. So you look at Connor Watson, he's at 40%. So you can take a bit of a flyer on him. I reckon that we haven't even seen close to the best from Harry Grant this year. He's pretty much been injured. He's been carrying injuries for most of the season. So I think that from now until the finals, we should see the best of Harry Grant. Having said that, the Storm, although they don't have any buys, they will rest players at the end, and he'd be a special for a rest in round 26, 27, whatever it is.
Yep.
Nothing to add.
No,
Boom.
Agreeing with you, Thomas.
Cheapies. So Talon De Silva, I think we all disagree with. Tanner Boyd, not that keen on him. Nuffs, is it definitely Nuff season?
I don't think I've ever nuffed in my life. So
Really?
Yeah, I just like having that squad depth just in case it all goes wrong, as it can. And when you run out of trades, it's so important, I think. So I never nuff.
I love to nuff, and I think one thing that's important with your nuffs is if you want to use them as a VC loophole, you want to be having a look at the draw. And I had a quick look, and the Knights are the best team. I think they've got like 4 or 5 of their games are on a Sunday. And I think they might have a bye in there as well, but either way, how it works is because they're late in the week, if you use them as your nuff, then you've got that loop option later.
Yep. It also depends on the position as well, and which players you've got. So if you've got Connor Watson, Kalani Going works perfectly with him, the Warriors guy. Miles Martin and Ethan Roberts are perfect to swing between the back row and front row with Tino or Nafahu, all those guys. Corey Horsburgh, and then Kane Bradley has, even though we bought him for the points last week, he's nuffed out this week, hasn't been named this week. So if you need 2 RF and centre wing, he's the guy. Captaincy, who you going? Teddy, surely.
If I bring him in, I'm going Cleary. If I don't, then I'll probably VC Herbie in the first and Captain Teddy against your lot in the last.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to throw the VC on Nico Hines. And
I knew that you were going to say that.
Yeah, just...
Can I guess your C is going to be Karapani?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's what everyone's saying. So, I think I'm going to.
So you haven't
chuck the C on
bought a
him.
pod this week, so you're just going nuts with the captain.
Yeah, but I reckon they're going to score 100 points, and Karapani's he breaks tackles. Reece Walsh on the side, he's going to get a lot of line breaks, a few tries. I think anything less than 80 would be disappointing, and I reckon he's got the ceiling to go 150. So.
Yeah, with a try, because of the way he plays, with all the tackle busts and runs, he's a 75-point guy. With 2 tries, you're looking at 100 straight away.
Yeah, and just most of my big guys like Scott Drinkwater and that, they've got tough matchups this week. So I found it a really hard week to find a captain, and it might be that week when all those popular guys go low. So I'm going to go Karapani, who I think is a safe option. On that Sunday, I might be feeling good about myself. All the bad captains are gone bad, and Karapani's sitting there for me on the wing and scores 3 tries.
I like it.
Some questions. So Marky Mark is going to ton up this weekend. Tell me otherwise. So he's coming off 2 tons. We saw him live on Sunday and he looks like an absolute beast. Do you reckon he tons up against the Dragons at Cogra?
No, only because the Dragons, I think, are a bad team supported by bad people, but they can defend okay. So, no, I think maybe he might get a try, but I don't think a ton.
Yep. I will never listen to this for me. I will never listen to you anymore after you said Kyo Weeks was a trap. Meanwhile, you got on and chucked the VC on.
Yeah, well, I wasn't on here last week to talk you out of it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That might be the way.
He's not trap. He's rocks and diamonds.
You
know what there is with rocks and diamonds? There's diamonds, and he's had diamonds twice in a row. So yeah.
Yeah, and like 7 scores under 40 for the year, which I pointed out last week. Your final thought, Rob, do you have a rant for us today?
It's not a rant, but it's directed at Timmy Williams from SuperCoach Playbook. Timmy knows I love him, but he looped Drinky. We were all out at Allianz for a thing, so we're going and we're watching the Roosters play against West Tigers. And the first thing he's like, I've looped Drinky. I didn't captain Teddy. Everyone else there is cheering him on, and Timmy doesn't. Right now, look, I know it worked. The points were better for Drinky, but it lacked heart. And if I was going to say, if someone asked me to describe Tim Williams, he lacks heart and he's gutless. And just being smart doesn't mean you're right. Sorry, Tim.
Very good. And also keen to point out that Frank's not here today, so he hasn't copped anything from you.
No, I believe Actually, no, I won't say that. Even I will
still
censor myself.
even from Adelaide. He's on the road in Adelaide for the Lions, but he will have to cut this segment at some stage. So yeah, he'll be hearing it. Have you got a final thought?
Oh, nothing as aggressive as that. But I was just going through the draw coming up, and I was thinking, geez, the Dragons have been stitched up. Or start of the year, they had their first 3 or 4 games were Saturday 3 p.m. And now from round 17 until round 22, except for one game, they've got Saturday 5:30 every week. So that sucks quite a bit if you're a Dragons fan, especially if you're working on a Saturday like our man Clinton Payne is at the track and he can't get back.
It's also tough because so many of their fans are on weekend detention. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they won't be able to go and see them. Yeah, it's tough.
Well, we'll end the show on that. Frank might have to cut a little bit. Big thanks to Rob and Jett. Good luck on the weekend.